When I first started watching this, I'm like, is this like a parody? Is this real? Like, I was kind of confused about the tone, and I realized that it actually is tackling some progressive issues, especially around Torrance trying to like step in and save the day, and having Isis's character push back and be like, we got this, we're good, we'll figure it out. And they did. Even though this movie was packaged as this teen movie with, you know, the girls in the bikinis washing the cars, I loved discovering that this was written by a woman and that she was able to get that storyline in there. No one was doing that in that time. Welcome to the table.
We're your hosts, Michelle and Laura.
This is where we talk movies, food, and the ways that they bring us together. Grab a seat. This episode starts now. This week, we are very excited to be joined by a new guest, soon to be recurring guest, we already decided, Sushma Krishna, who is one of my best friends from high school. We've known each other since we were 6. She had brought up Bring It On to me, and I said, well, we're going to do a sports season. Maybe that would fit in. Bring It On is a movie that I've never seen before. I don't think Laura has.
You didn't tell me that.
Oh yeah, no. This is going to be a fun discussion because we have Sushma as our seasoned Bring It On fan, and me as a newbie, and Laura will fill in the blanks in between. But Sushma, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. And I cannot believe you hadn't seen this movie. This is like iconic from our childhood.
How old were you two when this came out?
It's 2000, so we must have been like 16 or 17, I think. 16, something like that. So it was like prime teenage years. So I don't remember actually going and seeing it. I maybe I did. I must have. And then I remember in college, it was like always on, like HBO or something. Like you turn on the TV and it would be on, and I would like rewatch.
What different college experiences we had, because you had access to HBO, or at least a channel that was showing this movie, because I don't think that I did. I think we had a little like security camera size television. So bougie up there in Binghamton.
It was so bougie. I don't know, in Albany, you guys behind the times. I mean, Michelle and I had cell phones, right? But like not everybody did, I remember.
Yeah.
When we started.
We were kind of like...
We were like so cool.
We were.
The Nokia, remember those?
I think we had the same one, right? We both have the blue one.
The blue one. I still remember Michelle's phone.
Yeah, I think of Michelle and I think of the phone and the Jetta. Did you have a Jetta?
Yeah, I had a blue Jetta.
Yeah, blue Jetta. Everything was blue.
Not dissimilar from Missy's VW Beetle that she drives in this movie.
So funny you bring that up, because when they showed her driving that Beetle, I was like, oh my God, that was so... People thought that was so cool. Remember Steve?
Steve and Sue, our friend from high school.
He had a green one, I think.
Oh my God, I am remembering Sue's Beetle now. I definitely took some drives in Michelle would bring me along to wherever we were going. Sushma, so watching it this time around, have you seen it like in recent years?
No, it's definitely been, I can't remember when the last time I saw it. And so like I rewatch it. Like I remembered obviously like the overall like storyline and some of the, you know, really like famous lines from it, like Spirit Fingers, obviously everybody like remembers that. Like every scene was just like a classic iconic scene, and like and campy and like funny, but also like still believable, like that it could have like almost still happened, which was like a kind of an interesting line to have walked back then.
A lot of our episodes have now been like, you know, rewatch movies that we've done, and they feel so much more nostalgic on like a personal level, because you're remembering, whether it's conscious or subconscious, but you're like remembering different points in your lifetime.
That was when all these like teen movies came out. Like then like She's All That, which I was saying we should do on another episode, and 10 Things I Hate About You. And like there was that just like 2-3 year period where there was like all these teen fun movies, and like we were the same age. And so immediately just like took me back to that time.
I mean, what an amazing time that you guys, you know, in your life are like, I was 16 during Y2K.
We didn't realize we were in the best time of our lives at that point. Like, that was before 9/11 and just the world totally going crazy after that. And we were like young and like no phone. Like, well, we had our little Nokia phones, but not like texting and stuff yet. So, like, I don't know. There was still that element of like, we could go for a drive and like no one really knew where we were going.
There's kind of this backpedal of parents or even kids like getting older and wanting the nostalgia of, like the 90s and the 2000s. And like I kind of grew up on the cusp. So I grew up, we had our desktop computer. So I'd like play games on it, and we had AOL, Instant Messenger, but I didn't get a cell phone until I was going into high school. So it's just, trends always repeat themselves. And I feel like I am seeing people like wanting to revert to landlines.
Well, even in the movie when she like they like miss each other, she called him on the landline and then she hangs up and he like answers. I was like, that would never happen now.
Guys, when you both got your cell phones, you two would like call each other.
I got them going into college. I remember that.
I think at that point, at least in like maybe those first couple years, it was much more of a like in case of an emergency type phone. I did have a landline through all of college, and I remember having phone calls on that. And when we had to call, like when I called back home, we would use these calling cards. Do you
Oh
remember
my
those?
God, yes.
This makes it sound ancient. Like this is like you would see these in a museum.
You know what? We talked a lot in college over AOL, Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
That was the
So
texting.
that was like the equivalent of texting.
Did you both end up having MySpace at any point?
Yes. Oh God,
Briefly,
Laura, you're really
yeah,
like
briefly,
pulling it
but
out
yes.
now.
Because it kind of came out around the same time as Facebook, and Facebook came out our senior year of college.
Yeah. The like body feel that I get when I think about MySpace it's like imprinted in my body memory.
Wait,
Because
Laura, did you have MySpace?
I did have a MySpace, and it was like it was such a big deal. Like everyone had it, and I really miss MySpace. What a time.
But that was what one of the things that like watching this movie, I was like, wow, this was like a time before all of that. And they didn't have phones and they're having like the best time. And like when you think back to like our lives, like we did too, actually. Like it was actually a great time.
Do you both feel, because you were both in high school when this movie came out, this was a California high school on TV. So a lot of the movies and shows that came out during this time period are kind of this magical version of what high school was like. And there's palm trees and, they're walking outside to go to class. I think that was like this golden star that East Coast we've talked about this on maybe our Freaky Friday episode, Michelle, but are there things that kind of like reminded you, like brought you back to being a high school senior?
I mean, all of it, like the fashion, the style, like the tank top, the like crop tops, spaghetti strap tank tops. Like I was like, we literally dressed like that. And then like the hair. I mean, I don't like I ever did that, but like the hair and all the like clips. And that high school, the set that they use is in a lot of other shows. I think it's like from 90210, it's from Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. It reminded me of like basically all those shows that were all out at the same time. At that same time, it was like the glory days.
I feel like I really miss the experience of watching this as a young person when I could more relate to that age. So I feel a little bit more removed even from a visual, like Sushma, you nailed it, like the wardrobe, the hair. I definitely wore my hair in those like the twisty things with the butterfly clips. But Laura, I think that you kind of touched on what made this feel like not our high school. Like this was like this other magical high school in this other world, this other place that felt very fictional. And I think also because Sushma, you never cheerleaded, right? I was like
No.
second guessing this. Okay. So
No.
neither one of us were cheerleaders. I know that you played field hockey, so you have athletics on your resume. I do not. I never played a high school sport. So I also don't feel like I was like in this world at all either. Like I did not have school spirit. I did not go to football games. When I'm trying to nail down like where I could see myself in this movie, it was really only that in the classroom where Cliff is introduced. I was like, that kind of brought me back to chemistry, which was like my worst class that I was so bad at. It sucks that like when you're in high school, like that they don't really cater to your strengths and interests as much, or they don't foster that. So you're just kind of like stuck in these big classes with other people who are also uninterested in what you're doing. So that's where I got brought back to.
Back to the school spirit thing, it was different. You know, you have people in your current life who went to really big high schools, people with like, 500 kids in their class, which is mind boggling. I think at a smaller school, it's like you could have school spirit, but it's just different. We don't have these like massive Friday night football games.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, I didn't relate to it at all in that manner. As like, I don't think of myself as a cheerleader or any of those things. I think it just reminded me of that time.
The driving around also, we did a lot of driving. We didn't have phones or social media, so we had to hang out with each other to have access to people our age.
Where were you guys driving around? Between Posa and the Palisades Mall?
Yeah, a lot of people went to McDonald's. Kind of a hub, I think, because in our town where it was located, very close to our high school. You could walk to it from our high school, but that kind of off a couple of like a main road, and we're like a parkway kind of exited onto. So for some reason that ended up being, and I guess the food like accessible pricing for high school students.
I used to get McDonald's before going to soccer practice, which is like I would pass away if I had McDonald's right now. I would like need a nap after. I can't believe I used to go and play soccer for an hour after doing that.
But Laura, tell us, first of all, had you seen this movie before?
Yeah. I've seen this movie a ton of times during middle school, especially when I got home from school or if I didn't have sports. We had all of the movie channels. So it was really just flipping back and forth. It kind of reminds me of like, a film that didn't come out when we were in high school. So we didn't really like relate to them. But it's so funny. Even still watching this movie now, I'm like, wow, these, I always felt like they were so much older than me. And so I still look at them as like adults, not, high school students, which is like, there's some weird stuff where you're like, there's no way that like a high school student would be acting this way.
Well, yeah, that's like the campiness of it.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have these movies that you grew up with, and at the time you're not like dissecting it. You're not like, this is labeled as a good or a bad movie. And like, this is objectively a bad movie, but it's so bad that it's good,
So good. The like rom-com part of it is not even the central story. I did like that. Like most teen movies, like that's the story, right? Like boy meets girl and like how are they going to get together? Like this was like that was like the side story. It was really more about the teams and like getting to the championship. It was like kind of a wholesome movie actually.
Some of these movies that came out that again are like so good that they're bad, but there's like pieces where you can just tell like directors or people at the studio made these like ridiculous decisions or things that needed to be included. But
well, yeah, there's definitely like, okay, the car wash scene. That was like, all right, we're like objectifying. Like, I feel like nowadays, like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure it would fly. I feel like there'd be outrage on the blogs, on like online, like you're objectifying teenage girls. And like, but like, yeah, back then they're like, we got to put bikini shots in the movie, so there it was, the car wash.
Let's get into things we loved. To talk just a little bit more about being nostalgic for this time, I still love this like high school movie soundtrack vibe, this kind of like pop punk music. The song that Cliff wrote for Torrance, was that an original like for this movie? Fantastic. And I think it kind of connects to that like the driving aroundness of our high school years. Like we would burn CDs.
Oh my God, you were so good at burning mixtapes. Michelle's mixtapes were like,
oh, thank you.
I think I still have, I should look for it, the breakups.
Oh, I made you some breakup albums.
You made me a breakup album.
You gotta bring them back, guys.
I get like more than one, I'm pretty sure. And I know for a fact Britney Spears' Stronger is on one of them.
A must-have on a breakup mix.
Okay, you guys need to bring these back. And I need to make it into a Spotify playlist. And Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again came out like this year.
Also, like, what a moment that we had Britney
We had
when we
Britney,
were
we
in
had
high
like
school.
pop culture was like peak. Like it was just peak.
It was Y2K.
Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney, Christina. Nobody has topped these people since then.
I don't know if we wanna, like, this is, like, a little bit serious, but when I first started watching this, like, the first scenes, I was kinda like I'm like, "Is this, like, a parody? Is this real?" Like, I was kinda confused about the tone, and I was, comparing it to other teen movies that I had seen, but I think after I had kind of finished watching it and was digesting it and thinking about it this morning, I realized that it actually is tackling some progressive issues, especially for this time, especially around Torrance kinda, like, being this, like, white savior and trying to, like, step in and save the day, and then having Isis's character push back and be like, you know what? It's fine, like, we got this, we're good, we'll figure it out," and they did. Even though this movie was packaged as this teen movie with, the girls in the bikinis washing the cars, I loved discovering that this was written by a woman and that she was able to get that storyline in there. At like we're thinking of it now like it's like okay, like everyone does that, but no one was doing that at in that time.
Movie like denied by like she said she went to like 27 meetings to get it made because it's still very hard now, but even like back then to be able to just kind of have your own voice, especially as like a female writer, was so hard. Michelle and I talk about this a lot on the show that it's always very obvious to me the decisions that were clearly made by the creator and the writer in mind and like what she was important to her to get across. And I think for her, it was like about being a teenager and like needing to kind of like act a little bit more like an adult. Torrance's growth, but then like having this matchup of someone from another school and like under having the same language that you're both kind of after the same things and like just thinking about yourself on like a deeper level of like who you want to be as a person and like being a leader clearly very well constructed in the script, and then there's kind of these other parts that were like just like cheaply included, and I think it would have been a different movie if it was directed by her as well. And she actually goes on to direct a movie that came out in 2006, Stick It, which is great. And I think that we should actually put it in this
I've never
season.
even heard of
I've
that.
never even heard of that. Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense. And I think she was kind of able to like really take ownership. Would imagine that there are, again, some of those decisions that I think are off taste that we all agree with that I don't think she made.
It was also cool to read that Gabrielle Union actually got to like share some feedback on an earlier draft before she agreed to take this role, and they made adjustments to her character. It's not even like so much that she was like a black woman in the year 99 2000, but like this was her breakout role. Like she wasn't like an A-list actress at this time.
This is still probably her most famous role, I would say.
Like I feel like some of her roles have been kind of like the backseat friend, and that was very typical of this time, where it's like you just make someone kind of like the B-list person, and they're just kind of in the background. So to be able to put her in this role, I thought it was also really beautiful that she used like Michael Jordan as like a guiding light to kind of like influence Isis's role, which I thought was really cool.
And she said people still to this day like will come up to her on the street and like ask her to do the cheer from this movie. like it's so, like the Burr, it's cold in here, like that one. And she's like, I don't remember it.
And she's awesome. I mean, from what I see, like she's into like a lot of like advocacy groups. She's like continued to grow into this woman who's like, I want a seat at the table, and is really like speaking up for people who don't have a voice. So it's I'm happy that like she was such a central part of this movie. And then to have Kirsten Dunst, they have no business being in this movie. Like Gabrielle Union and Kirsten Dunst, because they're so talented. You know what? I actually think that for Kirsten Dunst, like some of the movies that came out before this, it's probably a breath of fresh air to do something that's like a little bit more silly and fun. And like, think about it, they had to learn like choreography and like audition, and you're on a team. So I don't know if, you know, everyone got along in the cast, but if they did, it's probably like a really fun movie to shoot.
Sushma, what do you feel like was like your top love?
One or just some of the lines.
Courtney, this is not a democracy, it's a cheerocracy.
There's just some classic lines that, and like even the like the cheer, the burr, it's cold in here. Like people still to this day, like if you say that, they know exactly that it's from this movie.
It's cold in here. There must be some bubbles in the atmosphere.
And then just like each individual scene is like, there's some that are just so, they're just so different and unique. Like the opening scene with like the camera going down and like each of them, and like it kind of like, it's a dream sequence in the end, right? It's her dreaming, but it introduces all the characters. Like that's one sort of like compact scene. And then the spirit fingers scene is like ridiculous in a different way. And then of course the end with the Mickey song, like that is again iconic. Like,
I had the same thought. As much as I didn't like the objectifying part of the car wash, like I like, again, it's very frozen in time that this is like on a home video camera, and it makes sense because the writer like comes from like the music video production world. So I think that was morphed into probably some of the creative decisions, having that type of lens, and like that was a creative choice that they made for this movie, where they flipped back and forth between these different styles, even having them like do the interview at regionals. This is actually such an embarrassing story that I didn't have written down. I meant to include in my background. So I would have been in like third grade, and I remember there was this girl in my class who was like doing the "I'm sexy, I'm cute, I'm popular" like song. And I literally thought, because I was so sheltered, like I thought that like sexy was like an inappropriate word to say. I was like, I don't think that like you should be saying that. And my teacher went up to this girl and was like, are you like saying inappropriate words in your cheers? And she was like, no, I'm not saying anything. And I was like, oh, maybe it's not a bad word then. Okay.
oh my God, that is so funny.
It's so embarrassing. I'm like, I wasn't cool enough to know the Bring It On cheers in third grade. The choreography and like the teens and the songs and like the mashup, again, it makes sense that it, you know, from her creative mind, like this all came together of like she has kind of like the angsty side of Cliff's character, but then like having these mixed songs like for the actual performances at regionals and the championship were so much fun.
I think it was great that they portrayed it like you're adding this into the sports one. Like it's not just like a silly cheer, like people can make fun of cheerleaders, right? But like they were real athletes. I mean, the character Missy like kind of makes fun of them, but then she's like realizes, wow, this is like legit. So I think that was nice that they portrayed them as like smart, capable, hardworking athletes.
Did each of you have like a favorite, or I guess you kind of said, Sushma, like the birds cold in here, but like a favorite cheer that they did?
I've only watched it last night, so I feel like I'm not completely retaining every number. All I know is the first time that we see the Clovers do their first routine, I was just like, I want to see this movie from their point of view. Like I want to hang out kind of in that, more in that world. I mean, I know that this was like the whole point of the movie is that they were better and more talented, but like I was so captivated by their first number.
I actually thought that was better than the performance one that they did in the end. Like the performance one, like it also didn't have any like cool like songs. Like it was like a mishmash of different stuff, but not like a hook song that was like really popular.
I feel like this is a good question for the table, Michelle. Like what's a song that's representative of like your high school prom or like your senior year of high school?
Oh, I love this question.
For me, it's that, remember the Green Day graduation? It's not graduation song, but it was a Green Day Good Riddance. That was huge.
The Good Riddance song, I think, came out before that. Before Seinfeld ran its final episode, they kind of did like a clip show kind of thing, and they played that in it. That was a few years before we graduated, but I think it kind of became the graduation anthem for our whole generation. But that's a good, that definitely makes me think of senior year. Laura, what was yours?
The one that I always think of, which makes sense, yeah, it came out in March, is Give Me Everything, which is on Pitbull's album. And it features Neo. But it was always fun to have older siblings because I just listened to the music that they listened to. And I think like, having Cliff's character, they talk about like the Clash and kind of like these niche, cool cool bands, things like my husband likes. But I think of a lot of kind of like the punk era.
Blink 182. Like, remember how popular they were in high school? They were huge.
Loved Blink 182. Bring this question to your tables when whether or not you've seen this movie or not, the next time you're sitting at a table with family or friends, ask them, when you think of your senior year of high school, what song comes to mind? I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Pantone family, which I love their last name. I liked Missy as a character a lot. And I know that we've said that, like, Cliff is kind of like the love story is kind of like a secondary thing, but I kind of liked him, and I liked this idea of a character like him being the love interest in a teen movie. Like, he wasn't Chad Michael Murray. And like he gets points just for that. He seemed so much closer to like an actual person that we would have known.
Like a little awkward, like, just not Prince Charming, which is like what we were so used to growing up with. In some way, like carrying the tropes of like the boy who listens to different music. But I thought it was fun. Like that, I know we talked. The mixtape inclusion was like a really fun.
Oh my God. And when he's waiting for her outside with the flowers and like made her the mixtape, so sweet. So sweet. And he like saw her kissing her like loser boyfriend.
Such an over the top character. And just the fact that, because everyone kind of knows that type of character where it's like, or person who like still comes back to like high school cheerleading competitions and is involved in the gossip.
Some of the characters that are like more nuanced and real, like the love interest and the couple main characters, and then there's like the absurd ones, like Aaron, Big Red. Hello, like how absurd of a character was she?
I kind of like the juxtaposition because it was like kind of melding these two worlds, and I agree, Michelle. I actually really like Missy's character, and I thought she felt like a really like real person. I mean, I know they really lean into her, like, wearing all black, and I thought it was funny. I don't know if this is true or not, but they said when she auditioned, like she seemed really hungover. So I don't know if that was like part of her prep for the role. But I kind of like that she kind of found her own, and she's like, yeah, I kind of like cheerleading, and it was this. They didn't make it this big storyline too of like, oh my God, this, yeah, that wasn't the storyline. I feel like it was more about like the competition and
their friendship, I think, was really sweet to develop like over it. Like at the end, they were like, I couldn't have done this without you. Like I thought that was like sweet and like showing like positive female dynamics instead of like the cattiness, you know what I mean?
they made some of the other characters on like the squad villains. But I do feel like there's probably truth to that of like having the top, captain position.
Well, you tell us, you were in like soccer and stuff. How was it like that for you?
I know that cheerleading is a team sport, obviously, because you have to do it. But there is a level of individuality. It's really yourself. Where I feel like in soccer, it is such a team sport. You literally have to score. So like I was a midfielder, so I feel like on the pitch, like it was more about like I had to get the ball to our striker. So it wasn't about like being the star player. It was like all of us wanting to win. And I was captain. Like we had multiple. So I was captain senior, and I think I was captain junior year. I can't really remember. But like it just wasn't important to me. Like it was like I don't consider myself a big like leader, so maybe that's why like I didn't really want to have to like tell people what to do, which I think like Torrance kind of struggles with I think she grows into it, but not she's like finding her footing when she first, she makes a lot of mistakes, but I feel like it's just different with the type of sport.
I think of our school, like, because it was a smaller high school, and I always thought of our school as a very classic American high school. But then at the same time, like, it's not like people were like these movies.
The people in the movies who are like seem so much older than us, even though, I mean, Kirsten Dunst was 17 in this movie.
And she's only a year older than us. I think one of the like the things that was a little bit jarring to me was like, wow, everyone seems so much older than I remember feeling at that time. And I think it just has to do with one that I wasn't familiar with this movie, but also that this is a section of kids that like I didn't hang out with that probably when I was in high school felt more advanced. We talked about this in our Princess Diaries episode. I said for me that was like the most relatable experience of like being a high school student was this like rated G movie.
Yeah, I mean, when you say like, because I remember, like, I didn't really hang out at McDonald's. I feel like that was, again, that was like the popular cool kids hang out. Like, I wasn't hanging out at those places. So I know what you mean. Like, I don't relate to it in that sense, either.
There is this weird element of like, I feel like that's in every grade. It's like the people who are going to the parties are cool, even though they're not these like parties that are portrayed in 10 Things I Hate About You. But it's like if you're drinking and you're out, like that, you're kind of like with like the cool or like older crowd. And then it doesn't really become cool once you go to college but I don't think it's as like dramatic and polarizing as it really is in the movies of like,
This movie didn't really have a party scene. Like, usually these teen movies have that. It was really a very different movie. It was like a very much focused on the cheerleading, actually.
no, and I think it makes sense. It clearly is a passion of the writer because when you see movies stick it, it's the same, it's gymnastics. But you're right, Sushma. I feel like it's not like it doesn't have the typical blueprint. And it's an hour and a half movie.
I'm so pleasantly surprised that going into this, I was thinking this is going to be like to quote, which is an actual parody, like not another teen movie, but we cover so many movies on this podcast and we are very easily able to see like they're hitting these beats. They have this character that fits into these molds. And this movie like kind of throws all of that out the window.
That's why it's iconic.
Probably belongs more with the discussion about this movie being like a little bit progressive for its time. But I also liked this little character of Les, that we have this kind of openly gay character that wasn't like not a caricature. They didn't try to make him this like overly flamboyant person. Like he was just like a guy that was part of the squad. That I loved all the scenes that they had like the other I'm blanking on what the other guy's name, like kind of more prominent. Even though he was the one who was kind of like saying more like off color things, they didn't make so much of that situation. Just like these are just guys that we hang out with and they're part of this group with us. And I wasn't expecting guys to be on the squad at all. So that was also kind of like a refreshing thing to see.
It was kind of fun that they made the football players like suck at football and they're like gross and which is so not portrayed. It's always like, yeah, maybe they're little more jocks, but they're always like beautiful and like the most popular ones.
And they're usually the main character. It's usually one like a person on the main, like, I mean, and She's All That. The guy, he's the soccer captain, like, and he's the main lead.
I had this written down. I was like, I want the Les and Tim story.
I said heated rivalry. That would have, I feel like that could be like its own little, like the cheerleader version.
I wanted more of Les.
Yeah, he was great.
I have to say I loved the fashion choices of having Cliff have all these like ridiculous t-shirts. Like he had the F Train t-shirt. They really like leaned into him being this, musically like inclined guy, which I just thought was really fun. And again, all of like the his made me really miss CD players and like, the headphones, and it's such a snapshot in time.
And he was like dorky, but not like over the top dorky.
We talked about this in our last episode with Erica for Bend Like Beckham, but like I love bloopers, and I just want movies to have bloopers. Why did we get rid of bloopers?
That's why the Mickey scene, and it's so cool. It's like I like the way they did it. It's not just bloopers, like they weaved it into the song, and the credits and some credits also.
I'm tingling like recalling it because I think it was my favorite part of the movie. And stupid, whatever I was watching it on was like ready to autoplay to the next thing. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like rushing to push the button. I'm like, I want to see this. I want to see this whole production. I know how much thought they put into it.
Like it keeps going, like, and the Sparky guy comes out, like all the characters come out.
I think it's like we get a peek under the hood of what the set was like, and like were they having fun with each other, were they being silly? It doesn't seem performative to me. There was an extra where they show Torrance and Isis like in like their college.
Oh, like an epilogue.
I like the way that it ended.
I felt like they were kind of setting it up for the two of them to be on a team together or something in the future. And I assume that I'm like, oh, this is probably what the sequel is. But from what I gathered, there have been a lot of sequels, but it's all different casts.
There's like All or Nothing. I haven't seen any of them. I'm fine leaving this one, and that's what it is. Are there things that you each didn't like? We've kind of been sprinkling them.
Yes.
Yeah. Michelle's like, yes. Let me
like
pull up
ready
my
to go.
scroll.
To start, I really hate cheerleading cheers. Like the part where they're like, anytime where they're like the talking parts.
Michelle's like, I hated the entire premise of this movie.
It's like such two ends of the spectrum because I love the dance and the choreography and the acrobatics of it so much. But the chants, the whole beginning of the movie, I know it is iconic, and I agree with you, Sushma. I liked how it was, introducing the characters. Like it was used well. It was double dipping, but I was also like, I can't listen to this the whole movie. Like I hate this so much.
We did not have cheers during soccer because it's such like it's a motion game the whole time. You're not like, but like softball, Allison had cheers. Like I remember cheers on the bench. Like they used to be like, I had a little rooster, and like they would like call out like their names like on, which is like so like why is like, I guess it's like when you have lulls. Sushma, were there things for you?
The car wash scene, I think, is probably like the one where looking back on it now, it feels like, ugh, like a little bit like objectifying kind of a thing. But I don't know. I really love this movie. Like I have to say, like for all its faults too, like I still like it. Like I think it was very wholesome. Like I think like in a funny, surprising, like there's no sex. Like not okay. I guess her boyfriend is like cheating on her. That's like the only scene, but like it's very PG. Like they don't show anything. There's no sort of like grappling with like, am I going to sleep with him? Am I not? Which I feel like is so many times the plot point of the girl having to like decide this, like as if that's like the biggest decision in a girl's life.
That's a really good perspective, that it really is like it's kind of broke the molds of a lot of like the movies that we are used to in this time period, which is good. And it just really did make it about the cheers. Again, it felt like disjointed, where it was kind of like those easy, like there was like a lot of mentions of him like kind of like grabbing like her like vagina or like underwear, and I'm like, I feel like that character wouldn't be like that, but they just like in this gross way. And again, Michelle and I've talked about this a lot, but it's like when it's a man who's like directing it, it just gives me such an icky feeling, because it's like, we hear so much about films and TV of young people being forced to do these things that they're like uncomfortable with. And to your point, like with the car wash and they had to be in bikinis, like they could have done it, in a different way. the way that they spoke about lesbians or gay people.
But it was normal at that time, and I'm not making excuses, and I will fully admit, like, I used to say things like that, and, like, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I said those things," but
Yeah, I just think there were like things like that that didn't feel true to, again, like the creator's mind, and her really wanting it to be like kind of this music video mashed up with, the performances and about like giving, Gabrielle Union's story a little bit more of a like kind of showing these girls in these different roles before they go into college. So I feel like it, again, all those like little things are just like the cheap throw-ins that I just always feel like are very disjointed. I always laugh during both the regionals and the finals where like none of the judges, like none of them have a poker face. They're all like getting so into it, which I just feel like is so not accurate. Like they probably have to be so serious and it's like really intense. Not that that was something I didn't like. I just thought it was funny.
I have one other big thing that I hated, and that is Justin, Torrance's brother. Hate him. He brings nothing to this movie.
nothing.
He has no point. He's so obnoxious. I wish we could erase him from the movie.
Yeah, I like to think that Justin did not grow up to be a very good man. I think that he's kind of a loser.
Laura, he would be friends with Sean Murphy from Little Giants.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. I don't even
Watch it and just look up clips of Sean Murphy.
I don't know that clips will come up, but Laura and I mentioned him a lot of how much we hated him.
Justin, if there was a crossover between these universes, the only thing I will give him credit for, I did love his cheerleading equals death shirt. I thought that was hilarious. Great t-shirts in this movie. Okay, let's talk about, again, we've kind of been sprinkling in some favorite scenes and favorite quotes, but Sushma, if you had to pick a favorite quote and a favorite scene, what would you pick?
So, okay, the favorite quotes, I'll give you a couple because I've said a couple of them already, but it's the part where they're doing the auditions
Courtney, this is not a democracy, it's a cheerocracy.
and someone else is like, she puts the itch in bitch and the or in whore. It's like it's so stupid. It's like made me laugh though. Like just these absurd, like almost like making fun of the fact that people think of cheerleaders as ditzy, and then in the movie they end up not being ditzy, so like they kind of make fun of themselves almost. I don't know, my favorite scene, that's like a tough one. Probably I think just like when we see the clovers dancing, like you kind of brought that up because it was so good. And you're like, whoa, these people are really good. Like, where is this movie going now?
We already mentioned this scene, but I love the scene where Torrance is listening to Cliff's tape, and it felt like such a pure moment that all of us have probably been in some instance. Probably more, I more think of like driving in a car again, but where you're just so into the song and she's just so being herself. Like she can't help but get up and jump around. And I try really hard to not think about that point that you brought up, Laura, that sometimes like I'm sure that there are interpretations of that scene that are like really icky. Like they had this teenage girl like jumping on the bed and like trying to sexualize it in some way. But from my perspective, I'm like, if that was me, it would just be like a pure joy moment.
I think it was really reflective of just a girl being in her girlhood and not trying to be like performative. And I think that that's a testament to Kirsten Dunst that like she is just, I think she's a very authentic actor. Like
Yeah, she's great.
She's really wonderful and I love her in that scene.
And I think like it also, because of course, like I love the romance stuff about all these movies, but like just that like innocent high school love, like crush thing. Like I think that's just so sweet.
I actually like that it's in her bedroom because, she still has all like her stuffed animals and poster on the wall of Ice Skater and
Nancy Kerrigan, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of like it feels really real and relatable.
I just want to quickly also say I loved in the audition scene all the kind of like the cut. This is like they do this in a lot of movies, but all the cut-ins of kind of like the random people trying out. Like when the ballet dancer came out, I was like, this is
So fun. Yes, the Broadway show guy was my favorite. Oh, he was so great.
The rapper, then the girl that's like crying. She's like, I just broke up with my boyfriend.
But yeah, I feel like my favorite line was also just like a very sugary sweet. I loved the line at the end where Cliff asks like, "Oh, like second place, how does it feel?" And she said, "It feels like first." And just the kind of like you're feeling that same complete joy. Like this is not a person who's mad that they didn't come in first and
Yeah.
they came in second. Instead, she's really celebrating this moment. And I love that then that morphs into their first kiss and that she's the ones who initiate it.
And
I thought
she was
that
the one. I
like,
know. I like that too.
it was a very well choreographed kiss, I thought.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
And then they
It was
like zoom
great.
out and you see like everyone there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm picking all of the very quintessential scenes for this season, but I love the Sparky scene and I love how he goes down the line and is just fully insulting all of them. The entire season from him walking into the gym, we don't even see his face. It's just these black leather boots. He puts down the boombox, does the entire performance, which really reminded me of like Napoleon Dynamite a little bit. And just the fact that he goes down the line and he's like, one of your ankles is bigger than the other. Like, and he's like, you're wearing too much makeup. You're not wearing enough makeup. And then to go into like this whole character development of them going to regionals and the like, it's very serious. It's like the commissioner of the cheerleading is like,
apparently he's been peddling the same routine up and down the California coast.
I love that line, up and down the coast. Like he's this like mastermind choreographer.
so strange, like the hands but it feels very real of like, you know, people who didn't maybe make it in like, you know, Broadway, like they end up in these ridiculous roles and they like take all of their anger and failure out on these innocent like high school students. But I always love that, and I love that he says like these are spirit fingers.
Like when they were filming movies like this, did they think like, God, this is going to be a flop? Like no one's going to, like people are just going to think this is absurd. Or were they like, this is genius? Like spirit fingers are genius. People are going to love this.
But I also think there's this element of like, we haven't seen that in another movie. So when it's something that is, you may not know that you have an original idea or like scene idea in the moment. And I feel like even as I've tried to like play with writing on my own, I'm like, oh my God, this is following the trope of like, you know, boy meets girl. But like when you go in these scenes that are so like it came from a real brain, you know, someone thought of that scene. They thought of Sparky. His name is Sparky. The fact that like, you know, Aaron recommends him. He's like, get a pen.
Right on him. He's like, here, take down the number. I know it. Like, who has this guy's number? Like, right there with him. Like, that was so weird.
Another like Aaron quote, which I feel like is like, you know, when he's like, you know, the whole dialogue of him saying that she should quit. And he's like, you cheer.
Cheer, Tor. Okay?
He's just so serious about it, but he's so like cringy and you just hate him so much, but you can't help but love him. Food moments in this movie, I feel like it kind of makes sense because they're cheerleaders and they're just like eating it, which is like not accurate. I feel like cheerleaders in high school are probably like going to McDonald's and eating like real food, but they did not eat in this movie.
There was like no food scenes.
There's no food.
Yeah. Before the competition, they were like snacking in the hotel room. That was like
They
the
had like
only
Diet
time.
Coke and chips.
The Diet Coke, yeah.
Justin, our favorite character, has Fruit Loops and he puts sugar.
Oh,
Yes.
and he put sugar. I did notice that. I was like, why is this in the movie? Like, what's happening?
Was that
right
a thing?
No, I think that was a Justin issue.
Okay, well, that being said, I feel like this is going to be a tough dinner party episode, but we're going to make it work. We'll pick a setting. We'll all give each other a character, and we kind of decide what they would bring or cook. I think for this one, I'm kind of, because there's not much food, I kind of like the idea of they're at regionals and there's vending machines. What are each of our characters getting from the vending machine as their snack? Like what's their choice? So Michelle, I'm gonna give you Justin just because you hate him so much.
Sushma, I'm going to give you, we haven't talked about her yet. She's a minor character, but I'm going to give you Pauletta, the talk show host, who is the one who, like,
The one that's like supposed to be Oprah, basically, but like not really.
yes.
Great. And I love that they like got her a Clover's uniform. That was awesome. I loved Pauletta. I actually wanted a spin-off of like Pauletta's story. She's lovely. Yeah.
Okay, so then I give Laura a character. I'm gonna give you Aaron.
Poor Pauletta has to hang out with these two and eat vending machine food.
This group is amazing. I'm just picturing these three people sitting on a gym floor, like in Duck Duck Goose style. Wow, this is great. I feel like Aaron has bad taste in everything, including something as simple as snacks. I am not. I've never been like a peanut M&Ms fan, and I know people like it, but I feel like he gets peanut M&Ms, and he like only eats the red ones. He's very big into like Toro pride, and I think it's like a weird, they're really into like superstitions. He's like,
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even talk about the spirit stick, the spirit stick story.
he's like, I'm going to hell. So strange. But I think he has a superstition. If he does, he only eats the red ones, and that's when they win competitions. I think he drinks Diet Sprite because that's like the worst thing I can ever think of, and it's like the plastic bottle. He's like, I need a bigger one. He even has poor snack choices. Yeah, and I think he gives the rest of his other colored peanut M&Ms to Justin because he knows he loves sugar.
Okay, Justin. I think that Justin gets Skittles because, again, sugar. But I think that he gets the like not the traditional. He gets like the tropical variety in that that have like the flavors that nobody likes. And then to drink, this is no shade because I drank this a lot, but it just makes me think of high school. I think that he gets 2 bottles of strawberry kiwi Snapple.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was like, she's gonna say Snapple something.
Snapple was running through my veins in high school.
Okay, I guess. Oh, this is so hard. She only had that one scene. I was actually gonna say a diet Snapple, like a diet iced tea lemonade, like lemon Snapple. And then I was gonna say like some type of one of those chips that's like baked or like not like like trying to be like adult and healthy.
Baked Lays are disgusting.
They're horrible.
So, Sushma, at the end of every episode, we do our this or that segment. So you're the guest. We'll put you in the hot seat. So, Sushma, would you rather have to date Aaron for like a full year, like your senior year? You have to date him. So he like ruins your senior year because he's like cheated on you. He's like the worst. Your college boyfriend, Aaron. Or would you rather have Justin as your brother?
Probably Justin.
That's a lifelong commitment, though.
But Aaron is just awful. He's awful. I hope I wouldn't be that stupid.
Would you rather lose your top mid-cheer, as we saw in the beginning nightmare sequence, or throw up all over your cheer coach right before your tournament?
100% throw up. I do not want to be topless in front of my entire senior class.
You can pick between these two music choices. Either Cliff's like mixtape or listening to like The Clash on CD.
Definitely Cliff's mixtape.
I will say one thing that I forgot to include in the what did we not like section was the swing that they randomly had in their backyard. The actual swing was so strange. I was like, this is like a very large swing. Where did they get this? It must have been like an extra prop
But I loved that. And then they almost kissed, but then like Missy came out. I thought that was sweet. It was like practically the only really like romantic interaction between the two of them.
Laura, this is extremely niche. This is if anyone in our audience actually knows what I'm talking about, you are our biggest fan.
You
But
are.
that the swing made me think of the lovely lonely man scene from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes,
It was like the same swing.
it was not like a normal swing. That wasn't like a swing at Highview Park. Like that was there was something going on with the swing.
All right. Whose car would you rather drive? You have 3 options. You can drive Aaron's blue boxy, whatever that is. You can drive Cliff's green vintage car, which we only get like a little flash of. Or you can drive Missy's blue VW Beetle.
100% the Beetle.
Would you rather get your tooth knocked out at the competition, like on their face, or would you rather fall off? I forget her name, but the girl who like is concussed.
Broke her leg.
Carver.
Yeah. I think breaking a leg versus a tooth, the tooth feels scary.
Would you rather rock Missy's hand-drawn tattoo for the entirety of your senior year, including prom,
Oh, God.
or spend your spring break in Daytona, Florida? And I'll just have to say, I was just in Daytona, Florida, very briefly recently.
Yeah.
It is
a madhouse.
You do not want to go there.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But would I have back then?
But maybe.
Question. When I was like 17, 18, maybe. That's a tough one. I think I would pick the spring break.
Okay, and last one. Would you rather be cursed by the spirit stick or get screwed over by Sparky Pulaski?
Oh God, that's a tough one. I guess I'll risk it and take the spirit stick and see what other curse comes upon me.
So next week, speaking of warm weather, we're going to some cold weather places, and we're going to be doing pool runnings, which is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to do it.
With another returning guest. We'll see you then.